I can tell from your face you want me to say yes, so... yes.
So, I just watched episodes 5 and 6 of His Dark Materials, and oh my Macy, this show adaptation continues to get better and better. It's unbelievably good. Ma Costa is a savage, and Serafina Pekkala, she's ridiculous, ridiculously awesome. So is Lee Scoresby. I think you're going to like this video. In this video, I want to do two things. First, I want to give you a little extra color into who Lee Scoresby is, in case you didn't read the books, or if you did and it's just been a while. And on top of that, we're going to address a key scene from episode 6, the conversation between Lee and Serafina Pekkala. It's a scene about fate versus free will. Let's start with the easy one. We learned something about Lee in the book during that same scene. So, witches' demons are always birds. Why? Because witches fly. It makes sense. Lee Scoresby also flies a lot, right?
Oh, thank you, Miss Pekkala.
Always good to see you in the skies, Mr. Scoresby.
Lee flies a lot. It's his job. But look at his demon, Hester. An Arctic hare. An Arctic hare that flies. Why is that? If Lee Scoresby loves flying so much, then why didn't his demon settle as a bird, just like witches' demons always settle as birds? You could argue that Lee may not have loved flying until after his demon settled, but there's a better reason. Lee Scoresby doesn't love flying. From the books, we know that flying was just a job to him, a means to an end. Once he saved up enough money from flying, Lee intended on selling his balloon and never leaving the ground again. Serafina responded to him saying, "There's another difference between us, Mr. Scoresby. A witch would no sooner give up flying than give up breathing. To fly is to be perfectly ourselves." The show gave a nice little nod to this aspect of Lee back in episode 5, when Lee was perfectly content being dragged on the ground as he lay on his balloon.
Why walk when you can ride?
It was a nod to his nature and his desire to retire someday and just chill out on the ground with a cigar and a glass of bourbon whiskey. And here's another little nod in the show. So Lyra asked Lee,
"Why aren't you on your balloon now? Wouldn't it be useful to have a view of what's ahead?"
We have.
Because Serafina Pekkala's demon, the bird Kaisa, it was up in the air flying. And Lee's right. A balloon is at the mercy of the winds, whereas a bird has the freedom to choose where it flies. So Kaisa, the bird, he's a better lookout than Lee, which means Lee can chill on the ground for now, no big deal. But listen to the words that the writers gave Lee in his response.
And a witch's demon is better eye in the sky than I'll ever be.
Those words were a nod to the distinction between Lee and witches. How witches would no sooner give up flying than breathing, whereas Lee simply chooses to fly as a job. Like we said, that's why Hester is an Arctic hare, not a bird. So that's the first point of this video. The second point is the big one. It's much more important. Let's address the conversation he had with Serafina Pekkala. A conversation about fate versus free will. Lee finds out that there's a war that extends beyond just one world, and Lyra is at the center of that war.
She matters more than she can ever know. The fate of more than this world depends on her.
So Lee is like, wait a second, I did not sign up for this. He asks if he's able to get a new contract, as if it's about money, but it's not about money. It's about his concern around fate versus free will. Lee is all about free will. Just as he chooses to fly, Lee feels that
A man should have a choice, whether to take up arms or not.
Here's a passage from the books to give you a little more detail. It's pretty important. "You speak of destiny," he said, "as if it was fixed. And I ain't sure I like that any more than a war I'm enlisted in without knowing about it. Where's my free will, if you please? And this child seems to me to have more free will than anyone I ever met. Are you telling me that she's just some kind of clockwork toy, wound up and set going on a course she can't change? We are all subject to the fates, but we must all act as if we are not," said the witch, "or die of despair." There is a curious prophecy about this child. She is destined to bring about the end of destiny, but she must do so without knowing what she is doing, as if it were her nature and not her destiny to do it. If she's told what she must do, it will all fail. Death will sweep through all the worlds. It will be the triumph of despair. forever. The universes will all become nothing more than interlocking machines, blind and empty of thought, feeling, life. So it's not about the money. It's not about getting a new contract. What scares Lee Scoresby is that he's been pulled into something big, and he feels like he's lost free choice. But that's where he's wrong, and it's beautiful. Check this out. The fact of the matter is, just like Mark Costa, Father Coram, John Fa, York Bjornsson, and even Mrs. Coulter, Lee Scoresby loves Lyra, and there's nothing that could stop him from fighting for her. Fighting for her is his choice.
She will need you, Lee.
You know, a man should have a choice, whether to take up arms or not.
And you need her.
So Lee has a balloon, right? But Lee himself is a balloon, and Lee's love for Lyra is the wind that guides where that balloon goes. Fighting for Lyra is his fate, his destiny, but that destiny is one of free choice. The choices he will make in this story are out of love.
It's not how I expected this conversation to go.
Is it not?
No, I was hoping you would find a way of chucking me some danger money. Instead, you blindsided me with love.
Absolutely beautiful writing by the show writers. Here's the ending to that conversation in the books, the words of Sir Phillip Pullman. But just so as I know, would you mind telling me whose side I'm on in this invisible war? We are both on Lyra's side. Oh, no doubt about that. They flew on. What a story. Shout out to Sir Phillip Pullman. This story is just, it's excellent.
So to me, she's responsible for the fate of everything, and I'm responsible for her.